Hi everyone, this is Fate. I am going to be casting our top 4 of the tournament that took place on the 25th of July. This particular matchup is going to be Lil Pikachu versus Morpheo. This is going to be our first tournament that we've ever done using the Palapios .gg simulator, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Alright, so opening hands, we see little Pikachu has 3 interrupts, and Morpheo has 1. Morpheo just passes their turn, goes to little Pikachu. Little Pikachu ends up playing the Ancient Mirror to draw a card, drew another mirror, draws another card, and then passes the turn back to Morpheo. Morpheo will finally be able to play a card, will play the 4, won't reveal the dragons in their hand, we'll just do a direct smack to little Pikachu. They have enough soul to negate, but they do not actually end up doing that, so the tag goes through. So now for little Pikachu, they're going to play Zoe's strategy to pull something out of their graveyard, which forces Morpheo to discard. Unfortunately, little Pikachu doesn't have enough soul to actually play anything, so they end up just passing the turn. Morpheo ends up getting that card back by just drawing a card by playing Azerobe, and then we have just another attack from Alphadrin. That will do some damage, but this time it actually gets negated. However, the subsequent attack will also be negated, so now that's 2 less negates in little Pikachu's. And I'm really getting home little Pikachu throughout this matchup, so now they're down to just 2 negates. They're going to play our big dragon Relax, and then he's going to shut down Azerobe, so they will not untap. That will actually be negated, but that will cost Morpheo a card. Should be okay with that. You see that they have Dormantide in their hand, so they can play that to draw another card, and that is actually what is played, so that's going to make Relax just sit down, and not only is he going to make him sit down, he's going to try to punch it. The punch won't go through. He's looking to free up the Azerobe for the subsequent turn. So Morpheo will attack directly once again, just trying to do some damage. Being rather aggressive, there is a lucky off the top of the deck, so that will be a lucky save, no damage. So little Pikachu will have 8 to Morpheo's 10. Now it's Dormantide Wars, so there's another one. It will actually shut down, gets negated, and well, that's pretty much all that little Pikachu can really do this turn because they are tapped out. They got the 1 soul to be able to play the interrupt next turn. We see one of the guns come out. We see that rifle. Rifle will now remove one of the dinosaurs. Say dinosaurs, but it's dragon and dinosaur. But yeah, got rid of Relax. Now the punch will go in. They got the buff to actually buff the Dormantide. We'll see Chillet come out. Chillet will not get anything off the top of the deck. So now we'll see the next Dormantide come out for little Pikachu. That will look into suicide. That is unfortunate. You kind of always want to go up on cards against your opponent, so suiciding your card isn't really the optimal amount of play, but there are no gears to allow that to actually happen. So Axel strategy is now used to, double Axel to remove that Dormantide threat. So, and now we have Alphadrin going in. We'll punch for 2, putting little Pikachu at 6. Little Pikachu's hand, got Victor's trying to look for something here. Still have 7 souls, so able to play the Azerobe to draw a card, so that is what will happen. You see Morpheo's hand's got the shotgun to kind of blast the field if it goes wide, but it can also just take out the Azerobe. So punch goes through, there's no negates in Morpheo's hand, so can't really do much about it. And now we got Solar Ray. Solar Ray is nice here because you're going to be able to draw some cards with that. Interesting that Morpheo does not draw with the soul effect to draw once per turn. Will actually just draw and was okay with discarding if they ended up getting a better card than a shotgun. So these attacks are going direct. There'll be a negate thrown out for little Pikachu. So they got 1 negate in hand, got the medicine as well to resurrect something if need be. They're going to play, let's see what they're doing. They're going to put a dragon on top of their deck, and then they're going to bring back Chillet. So Chillet will bring back Relax, which they drew off the top of their deck, which is pretty solid. The only downside is that Chillet is not in standing. Okay, I'm actually surprised about this attack here. Not opting to clear the board when you're down in life. They can play Negate here, so they feel safe that they're able to like defend their Relax here. But you know, you saw Pump Action Shotgun already used, so if that ended up playing, you would just be in a super dire straits. Still in dire straits though, because now the Alphadrin Aqua is going to get buffed to kill the Chillet. That will be negated. There's still Celeray here. Probably wanting to not attack with it because you just draw and discard a card, so it's not really that great, but I eat my own words. So Morfeo just wants to continue the aggression here, knowing that their opponent can't pay soul to negate this attack, so it's just a free hit to their life unless they get a lucky. Alphadrin Aqua for little Pikachu puts a Lee's Punk on top of the deck, and then Victor will draw an additional card, so we see that card is Zoe's, and there's a punch right there. They drew an additional card. Unfortunately for the playbacks for this particular engine, the card drawing kind of all gets clumped together, so you'll just see them draw cards like crazy sometimes. So we're seeing Chillet get buffed up. It's going to punch into Alphadrin. There is a negate, can be used, and it is right there. There's a negate. Knowing your opponent has 7 souls, so they can potentially hit you with 3 if they play Relax, but that's not the case. We have an Alphadrin, which will get pumped up. So the normal one will slap its Aqua brother. That's going to end up being killed. There is no negates. And now we got another Celeray will come out. Celeray will punch, force the discard, and it's another free hit. They're out of soul. They could potentially discard another card, but we got a lucky, so not a free hit. Looking back, we also, for little Pikachu, they got Zoe's strategy. So unfortunately, being able to grab cards from the graveyard does not force your opponent to discard in this situation because they do not have any cards in hand. Relax will come out, will shut down the Chillet. Unfortunately, this excuse me, this engine does not like show you what gets stunned. It's probably something that we can ask for in the near future, but we don't see what gets like technically frozen by our Dino Buddy. So that's a very strong turn, able to drop two strikers, and we have 1 negate left for little Pikachu. They have to discard the card in their hand to stop this, so now they're down to no cards. However, your opponent's side has much more pals than you, and it really isn't like much in terms of like board clear in little Pikachu's deck. So Zoe's going to be used, gonna grab another card from the graveyard, which is another Relax. This is definitely a turn to clear the board. The downside of this clear the board thing is that you're going to have to keep a Relax up, in my opinion, to be able to like block an attack. Problem is that you're sitting on extra like guns and stuff, but Azurobe comes into play. What a top deck. We'll end up tapping down the Relax and we'll punch, potentially for game, and that is it. That is the end of our match. So even if the Relax ended up punching directly for 3, it would have ended up just dying to Lucky. He wouldn't have had anything to protect himself. So it was just unfortunate draw, but great top deck for Morfeo, and they will move on to the finals. GG. Alright, so this is going to be our second half of the top 4 for our event that took place on July 25th. In the Palapigos.gg simulator. So this is going to have Kid Leo versus One Scoop Man. One Scoop Man is playing blue-red, and Kid Leo is playing purple-blue. So looking at the starting hand for Kid Leo, that is, you got nothing to play. Still nothing to play, but got at least a negate. And One Scoop Man, well, they got multiple cards to play if they want. They opt to play the Celeray, which will punch directly and kind of cycle cards that you don't want. So they end up dropping the Fox Sparks because they're just like, I don't need that. I want later game cards. So that attack didn't go through. So that ended up pushing a some... Was that a negate use? Yeah, that was a negate use, actually. And the penguin will try to get into Celeray. Celeray will actually be protected from a negate, and the two penguins end up actually colliding with each other. I'm a little interested of why that the negate was used, but then I see Menacing and Kid Leo's hand, and I understand. So Celeray will swing. This damage does happen. Puts Kid Leo at 9. And Leo most likely will slap down the Menacing. Menacing is going to punch Celeray. See, wanted to get something in the graveyard, so Menacing will be able to get it back. Kind of playing Menacing with nothing good in the graveyard doesn't feel good. So we'll have Azarobe come out. Azarobe will draw that additional card. Going to punch directly, ignoring the Menacing. Will be negated by Kid Leo. Celeray will most likely attack as well, not staying up to protect the Azarobe. Don't really care about that. It already drew the card. We just want to continue to put damage in, and also want to get that card cycle to kind of sculpt your hand into something nice. So we're at 8 mana right now. Menacing's going to go and punch the Azarobe, and most likely what's going to occur here is that we're going to see Leyline Noct come out and bring back the Menacing. So the purple engine's going to start going here. We didn't see Peng King. I'm actually surprised that the Peng King was kept in hand. I would like to see that to actually be discarded. I don't view that card as that great. So, as I'm speaking about that, one Scoopman just slaps down a Jormuntide, just punches directly, going to be negated by Kid Leo. Going to have to ditch a card for that, and Celeray's going to continue sculpting one Scoopman's hand, making it better and better as turns go on. And that punch will rip a interrupt from Kid Leo's deck. Kid Leo's at 7, and one Scoop is at 10. Now, we have Leyline actually doing an attack, not using the effect this turn, because it is the Menacing is frozen. We have Azarobe just going to come out and actually finally get rid of that Celeray cycling. Going to punch one Scoopman. One Scoopman, no negates in hand, but we got some direct damage to pals. We got Axle Strategy and a gun. So I'll be good to clear the board. However, it does not clear the Leyline Noct. That Leyline Noct's going to be a problem because they need to actually kill it, because it's just going to keep getting value every turn. So Chillet's going to come out. It's going to play Elphadrin off the top of the deck. We see a gun come out as well. We'll remove one of the cards Kid Leo has, and then we're going to have the Elphadrin attack the Penguin. So that ends up grabbing a card for Kid Leo, and the punch with the Chillet will rip another interrupt from Kid Leo's deck. Down to 5 health for Kid Leo. Now we have the Menacing punching into Elphadrin. Now this is really great. You get to remove a card and add a card back to your hand, and actually we see the Penguin come out. So the Penguin's gonna come out and have his big brother Peng King buffing himself up. So he's pretty big. Now Leyline's most likely also going to grab the Menacing once again, so basically the engine's online and it needs to be dealt with. Here's a Jormuntide. Jormuntide will be able to get over it as long as your opponent doesn't have a negate, and we see that negate in Kid Leo's hand, so that's obviously going to be played here. And instead, nope, just going to opt to actually just absorb the attack. We'll block that, get sent to the graveyard, so Leyline can actually just bring that back. Menacing's permanently in defense for this turn due to the fact that Jormuntide was used to tap it down. Leyline will come back. We'll bring you the Pinglet, so that will get buffed up to 1.3. Another one is played. Now it's at 2k, which, okay, so I don't think Peng King's good, but if you got 2 of them out on the board, then yes, it's good if you have a Penguin. That 2k thing is huge. But we see a huge play by one Scoopman, removing almost everything out on the board. And we will actually be able to potentially get rid of the Leyline. But we see the negate, have the soul to actually play it too. And there's the interrupt for that. So at least able to cycle a card, but it's still rough because that Leyline's going to continuously get value. And we see the grapple gun also in Kid Leo's hand, which is going to be really strong with Leyline, because you're able to bring back Menacing and then untap it if you so choose, or you can untap the Leyline, which also means that you just have a 1.7k defender, or it makes it much harder for you to actually kill it. So we see Axle Strategy used. I don't agree with the target there. I would have preferred to double tap the Leylene, because by like killing the Menacing, they're 100% going to get back a negate attack. So you're just kind of wasting your cards here. So I would view that as a misplay right there for one Scoop Man. This Leylene just needs to go. Just raw dog in the Menacing right there. Doesn't even need to bring it back from the Leylene. Just gonna get rid of the Celeray. Stop your damn cycling, is what Kid Leo says. And then the Leylene will go and try to get a pump into one Scoop Man, but that attack will be negated. However, there's no negates left for one Scoop Man. We got one in the hand of Kid Leo. See off the top of the deck for one Scoop Man. They end up getting another negate. And there goes a Menacing again, but the Menacing brings back a negate. So the negate is used. Once this loop forms, it is so difficult to actually get an actual attack in, because you have to deal with the Menacing. The Menacing untaps. The Menacing will block whatever comes in. And then if you get rid of it. So, in my opinion, I think the best way to deal with the Leylene, because we see Victor Strat in one Scoop Man's hand, you could just bounce it, just get rid of the damn thing, force your opponent to spend 8 soul to bring it out. Like, that's their entire turn. There, you see it, but I think it's too late. The Leylene's already generated so much value this entire match. Doesn't have enough to actually kill it either. So, opting for a punch. I mean, you're slowly dwindling away Kid Leo's life, but they're just going to keep having negates. And the Leylene's on the board still, so it'll bring back Menacing next turn, and then that will also bring back a negate. So it's just like, damned if you do, damned if you don't in this situation. Like, once a second Leylene hits the board, it's like game over. Like, it is so difficult to get yourself out of this situation. Really, the only thing that you can do to really get out of this situation is to not be playing these colors. Blue, red. Okay, blue can get rid of it, but they have to have the launcher. But they're not playing it, so this is just going to be an endless struggle for one Scoop Man. And I hate to call games like early, but this is pretty much GG, because the loop is now just so much worse due to the fact of that Leylene is going to bring back even more cards. Basically, any card in your hand is basically 2 cards in the graveyard, or you can just use it as a 1.7k beater, which is good in itself. But you have a 1.7k beater that brings back a recursion card that also gets you back, kills anything that it blocks, and then it also like, if you haven't noticed, Menacing's actually like one of my favorite cards in this game, because I think it's one of those cards that's so overloaded. Like, it does so much. And then when you have it used with Grappling Hook and Leylene knocked, it is just like checkmate situation. It's just a long grind, but it's a checkmate. Like, if your opponent doesn't immediately deal with the Leylene knocked, it ends up being game over, because you're just going to constantly just bring back a negate, bring back Menacing. Menacing will block any attack, and it will be able to kill it. And then when the Menacing dies, you get a negate. So there's nothing in the game that can really deal with this type of situation. It's just kind of, you just sit there and just take it. I do respect one Scoop Man. Like, if this wasn't a tournament situation, I probably would just like concede. Like, once they get the Grappling Hook out, I'd just be like, okay, it's game. You know, I'm sure you guys played other matches where you're playing against potentially like blue-green, and they're playing like a cola vending machine, and they get the vending machine online, and you know, you just kind of look for that concede match button, because there's very little things that get you out of this situation, and that's what it feels like right now for one Scoop Man. Like, just taking the hits, trying to do their best to stay in the match, but got one card in hand and a dream to hope to hit that lucky, but that won't be the case. That will be GG, and Kid Leo will move on to the finals to fight Morfeo. Alright, this is going to be the finals between Kid Leo versus Morfeo in our tournament that took place on July 25th. So this is going to be red-blue versus purple-blue. Huge thing about Morfeo being in these finals this is the second time they're in the finals. They won the previous tournament that he was in the finals. So this is going to be an uphill battle for Kid Leo. I also believe that this potentially is a bad matchup for Kid Leo's deck because they need a little bit of time to actually get online. Whereas Morfeo can kind of just go crazy if they so choose to. And they know exactly what they're playing because our top fours in our tournaments are open deck lists. So you know if your opponent's playing a long, like a late game deck or like a control deck, you know to push the aggression as quickly as possible. And we see in the opening hand, Morfeo does have a 2-drop, and they are going second. However, Kid Leo has nothing to play here. They do not have a 2-drop. So the huge thing with Morfeo's deck is that they can go, okay, well, I didn't see the flak there, so I guess I'm blind. Flak was hiding. So Morfeo's deck is going to be like, well, they have 3 Chillets in their opening hand. That's nuts. So we're going to have the Fox Sparks going to punch the flak. That will just remove. And Kid Leo's hand is just going to play the Penguin Launcher. Having the 3-drop in hand, you're going to be able to use that. So Chillet will come out, will be used to get Alphadrin off the top of the deck. So get one of those dragons off. Going to get that damage in. So the huge thing for Morfeo in this matchup is that they know that they're playing that loop with Laylee, Noct, and Menacing. So you want to do as much damage as possible as quickly as possible. So this forces Kid Leo's hand by having those 2 guys out on the board. It's kind of weird. If they had other cards in hand, I would say that maybe you could have like said, hey, I'll wait a turn because what if another Chillet comes out and drops more guys? The Chillet does not actually land from Morfeo, so this is just going to be a punch in, but Lucky will flip off the top of the deck, which puts a Menacing in the graveyard, which is pretty huge. Instead of the Laylee not being played, Menacing is going to be played. I do not agree with that at all. I would have liked to see the Laylee Noct come out and getting the Menacing from the graveyard, so you end up getting 2 cards for 1. By doing that, that does allow Kid Leo to draw a card from their deck, just to pay the 3, but like, I think putting 2 big bodies out on the board would be huge. So Chillet ends up being played. No, I'm sorry. The Alphadrin ended up being played. I looked away for a moment, and I have to look at the soul to actually see what actually happened. So this punch will go through. Both of them go through, end up doing 4 damage to Kid Leo. Kid Leo's at 4 already. This is only turn 8, which is back to 3. And your deck doesn't... You want more time to actually do this. So Zoe's strategy is going to be played, forcing a discard. But we see the shotguns in Morfeo's hand and everything. So like, here comes the shot right there. So we have a Menacing out right now that can defend, so that's good. As long as an Azure Robe doesn't come and tap it. Oh my god. The Azure Robe does get played from the Chillet. That is, he got 2 out of the 3 Chillet plays here, and one ended up getting the Azure Robe, which was, I was about to say, we'll tap down the Menacing and cause it to be GG already. Wow, that was a fast one. Game number 2 of our finals between Morfeo and Kid Leo. I do like to note that this match we had a problem with the replay. We had to reconstruct it. And then when we reconstruct our replays, they end up screwing up with the draws. So the draws are going to seem very convoluted. You'll see people drawing 2 cards at the start of each turn or something like that. That is just because of the replays messed up. But the gameplay is pretty much the same. You'll still see the cards that they played throughout the match. And here we go. So both players will end up mulliganing. Kid Leo's got whack in their hand, so they're going to play it like they did the previous match. Going to get that swing in. It will dump a Victor strategy away from Morfeo. So we're looking at Morfeo's hand. We just have a Victor strategy that can be played. Nothing else can be played besides, tapping your soul and drawing a card. But at least using Vic, you'll see top 5 cards, so you can pick and choose what you want. And Kid Leo, well, they got no 4-drop. They can play the launcher, but they got no actual creature to play. And we see Celeray. That was the damage. Like I said, you're going to see cards be really weird. Their hands are pretty much what you see here. So Penguin Launcher, kind of threatening that if you go wide on the board, it will remove what's there. Elfidrin will punch the Thwack. Not strong enough to die to that. Not opting to play with the Fox Sparks. Wants to leave a creature out on the board or a pal out on the board rather than suiciding. You could have played Fox Sparks and drawn a card. That could have been an option, but that wasn't the case. By doing that, it would leave you with no soul, and we see that doing the play that Morpheo did left him with 1 soul, so he's able to actually negate the attack and keep that Elfidrin out. So Azure won't do anything there. See Chillet. Wonder if the Chillet's going to be played. A little reluctant to play that after you see your opponent play Planglet Launcher. Don't really want to overfill your board. If they don't have it out on the board, then it's kind of okay, you don't have to worry about it, because then they have to commit to their entire turn to clear your board. But when the launcher's already out on the board, it's a little bit more annoying to kind of play that Chillet play. So you see Kid Leo, there's that draw bug that I was talking about, because Azure was played, didn't draw a card, so it drew it the subsequent turn. So Azurobe's gonna punch, but we see a 2-card discard. The negate will happen. The Elfidrin will survive. We'll also be able to kill the Azurobe due to the fact that it's a single-shot rifle, and there are multiple dragons in the hand from Morpheo. So we see the single-shot rifle was the card that was picked up. We saw the additional interrupt that was in their hand. We didn't see that. The card was kind of just not there. There's the play. Going to end up negating it, but knowing your opponent has Chillet in hand is not really a good situation. Now, real question here is it going to be Chillet or is it going to be Elfidrin? I think it's going to be the 4-drop Elfidrin, but nope. I am wrong on that. It will be the Chillet. The Chillet will rip a Jormuntide off the top of the deck, which is nuts. So you get 13 mana for just 5, and you still have 4 left over. And the Jormuntide will clear Azurobe. The Chillet's going to get punched in directly. Got a negate in hand for Kid Leo, but we'll see the Menacing and the negate just go to the graveyard instead for the damage. So Kid Leo's at 8, and Morpheo is at 8 as well. So it's tied, but the situation that Kid Leo's in is already dire straits. We see Penguin Launcher come out. It's going to be shot and fired, but there's still a Jormuntide out on the board. We see that extra little pump for the Penguin there with the grappling hook. That's a nice thing. So if you have 2 launchers out on the board, you can give one of your Penguins plus 1,000. That is pretty scary for most situations. The big dragons like Ignis and Jormuntide, just basically anything over 1.6k is just difficult to be removed. But Jormuntide's going to get in. No Lucky actually flipped off the top of the deck for Kid Leo. They're back down to 5 now. Chillet will be played. Axel Strategy off the top of the deck. We obviously see this hand deficit. Morpheo up so many cards to Kid Leo right now. We see the Menacing in hand, but the Menacing really isn't going to do much. You kind of want to keep it in attack mode. This is just a dire straits. The multiple Chillets is just very difficult to deal with, especially if it's this deck. It needs time, but Morpheo knows that, not going to give him any time. So we see Layleen knocked, not really that helpful. Victor Strategy played, probably looking for a Penguin or something. I don't even know. They already had a negate in hand. So Menacing will be played. It's going to try to punch in the Jormuntide. That's just going to be negated. Thankfully, you got a grappling hook, so you can at least put it into attack mode or standing, however you'd like to think about it. But we see Axel Strategy. It can even just be bounced with Victor's. It can just be ignored, to be honest with you. There's Axel, Victor, or a gun that can kill the Menacing. Wow, your opponent gets back in the gate. You don't really care that much. You're just slowly getting rid of your opponent's cards in hand because you just have the board right now. There's a negate right there, trying to stop that Jormuntide from getting 3 damage in. No, you're sitting at 4 life, but you need to get rid of the Jormuntide. And we see that Morpheo's hand, they got a negate, so they got 2 negates in their hand, so it's going to be a struggle. You need to remove it with like a direct removal, but it's nothing in Kid Leo's deck besides Zoe's strategy to actually get rid of it, and that's it. So Kid Leo ends up just conceding, realizing that there's actually no way to get out of this situation. They could have played, I guess they could have played the Rain X, buffed it up. It couldn't kill it, and then, Zoe's strategy to kill the Jormuntide, and then your opponent still is able to play multiple pals in subsequent turn. Like, the fact that Morpheo just had a turn where they only spent 4 soul already means that most likely they're just waiting. And the reason why they didn't overfill the board was specifically because of the Penguin launcher. Because you could have played Pen King, and then the 4-drop Penguin, and shot him, and you would have blew up the entire board, and then that was like kind of the only way for Kid Leo to get back. But that's it. We have our first ever 2-time champion, Morpheo, with the exact same deck that they won the previous time if you guys been following the YouTube channel, we did a video of that was in the other simulator. We'll be running tournaments in both of the simulators. I'm going to start cutting out TCG Arena. We'll keep these sims running until Bushiroad tells us not to run tournaments on them anymore, and then we'll figure an alternative. But thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary, and you guys have a great one. Take care.